Right, people, before this video starts, I just want to say that I have bladder issues at the moment. Yeah, that's as far as we're going with this. So if I start twitching or it just cuts randomly at times, or this video is just really choppy, please don't mind me. I am having difficulties of, life. So, yeah. Right, people, I thought I'd bring a nice cup of tea with me today. It's a 16 mug. I know, I'm a baby, okay? Leave me alone. Reason I brought a 16 mug with me is because today we're going to talk about a topic that I feel like everyone on a general level is going to be able to relate to. And also, I'm going to try and make my content over the next week, 2 weeks, a bit more, I don't know what the word is, not family friendly. I mean, my content is quite family friendly, apart from the swearing, which I am trying to cut down on. But more like just low life. I don't want to be too tense. I don't want to be in the camera's face. I want you to watch me for who I am. Meanwhile, I give you advice. So that might mean me bringing a cup of tea along to make it a bit more homely. That might mean me sitting over there just filming casually while I lay on my bed. That might mean me going into the garden and doing something. It could mean anything. But I'm going to try and make my content a bit more family, a bit more homely. So you guys feel like instead of watching a TV show where they intimidate the heck out of you, you're just watching a casual dude in his room with this beautiful background doing whatever. Did I actually put anything down there? No. So yeah, I'm going to try. I don't know how much it's going to work, but we'll see. Anyway, today, along with my down there problems, we're going to talk about peer pressure. Yes, big word. Big 2 words, actually. Now, peer pressure is something I've wanted to make a video on so many times before, but I'm not going to lie, the tips online and the things I know about peer pressure are not two standards, let's just say that. I mean, my favourite charities and my favourite online influencers who I get most of my mental health advice from, I'll leave some of them down below, don't provide great advice on this. So I've had to kind of come up with tips myself for you. I mean, I kind of normally do that anyway, but not to this level. Like, some of these tips are generally just made up. So please don't take these tips too seriously. They're just pieces of advice. I think they should work, but again, they're not like mandatory. Like, I'm not telling you that if you do this, peer pressure is going to become so much easier. Now, in my video plan, which I have on the side of me right here, I did write to make this video feel really, as I normally do, really tense. The beginning of the intro, me bragging on about something. But I decided that's not really going to be sensible, considering I am literally having to like cross my legs so hard to make this copeable. I don't know why I'm telling you this. I feel like you need to know. So yeah, I decided to make this video a bit more casual. Anyway, let's go over what peer pressure actually is. Because some of you probably won't know or might not know. So peer pressure is basically when you feel, in simple terms, again, this is not an exact definition. I might put the exact definition on your screen, however. It's basically when you feel pressured by a family member, by a friend, by a colleague, by an associate, to do something that you might not want to do, or you've never actually thought about doing, but because they're doing it or they're telling you to do it, you feel pressured into doing it and you start doing it. Or you don't even have to start doing it, you just feel like you should be doing it. There are different types of peer pressure. There are verbal peer pressures, there are non-verbal, and also it can lead into bullying, which I'm going to get into just now. So, as much as peer pressure is just a pressure to do something, and most of the time, it's non-verbal. You know, someone's doing something like smoking or drinking, and as a friend who hangs around with that person, you feel like you should be doing it because you feel like the odd one out. Most of the time, it's that type of peer pressure that messes around with people's heads, which I'm going to cover how to sort of deal with. But there are times where it becomes a lot more verbal, where someone's actually trying to get someone to do something they necessarily don't want to do, kind of answering their question for them. So you might say, no, I don't want to do that, and then they'll give you a reason why you should, and then be like, don't you agree? And then they'll just be like, agree. You know, like, they won't let you answer that question, which is technically, to a very low degree, of bullying. And if you are experiencing peer pressure on that level, where to the point where friends, family, whoever is literally on your back 24/7 trying to get you to do something that you straight up don't want to do, please approach someone who you trust, approach someone who's not going to pressure you, and get support, because I can't beg it enough. When it turns into bullying, it can be absolutely resultively damaging to your well-being and mental health, and it can make you feel quite lonely, quite trapped, and that feeling is not going to go until you go and resolve it, either with an adult, if you're my age, or with your boss or someone who you trust, or you can even seek therapy out of this, because it could get that bad. So I just wanted to get the severe side out of this, but for most people it is not severe. Now, the other side of this that's not bullying is standard peer pressure. You either are, someone's telling you about something that they're doing that which might be quite negative, it could even be positive in some situations, and you feel like you should be doing it because they're doing it, or they're telling you good things about it, but in your head you know that it's bad, but you still want to do it anyway. Now again, peer pressure can be positive, you know, you can do this positively as well. So in terms of that, for most people it's not, you know, severe at all. So for them people, I've got some tips for you. Again, if you are going through the bullying side of things, please go and seek help from your boss or an adult or someone you trust, because there's not really much advice from that, apart from the fact that, you know, you're being bullied and maybe bullying advice will help, but again, I can't confirm that. The websites that I've looked at have not been great. But for the people who haven't had that, I've got some tips for you. Now, the first thing I need to get across is that you need to be setting boundaries. There are, you know, we are all so different in ourselves, to the point where we all like, we all enjoy, we all want different things, and just because your mate is going out there smoking, drinking, taking drugs, whatever, doesn't necessarily mean you have to. That's not normal. But if you are feeling an urge to do that because he's doing that, maybe he's not the correct person to be hanging around with. And you need to start setting some boundaries with yourself about who you hang around with and what you do with your time. Because at the end of the day, yes, if you hang around with someone who's smoking, taking drugs, drinking alcohol regularly, the chances are you are going to start doing it at some point. You are going to get influenced into doing that. It's kind of a natural instinct within our brain. So my first tip from me is setting boundaries. Really sit there and say to yourself, do I honestly, want to be doing that? If no, remove yourself from that company immediately, or tell that person that's giving you that company that you don't like it, and maybe he should cut down, or she should cut down on what she's doing while she's around you. If she's an honest friend, or he's an honest friend, he will cut down immediately. But if not, maybe it's time to move on and find friends who will influence you and peer pressure you into the correct things that you should be doing. Not saying that peer pressure is a positive term, because it's not. Now, sometimes peer pressure is caused because your brain isn't reassured of a state of a fact. And the reason that is because you've been influenced by all these different people to do this specific thing, but your brain doesn't actually know whether to do it for you, and what it wants is some form of reassurance whether to do it or not do it. So sometimes, even just going up to a mate, going up to someone you trust, and talking to them, not in a serious way, about what that person is trying to get you to do, can help you. It can make you feel like you've had a burden taken off your shoulders, and you might even get some useful advice in whether to carry out that action or not. Again, your brain just needs that reassurance. It needs to be told yes or no, because a lot of us don't tell our brains that. We let our brains make that decision for itself. But sometimes you have to step back, take control, be like, do I really want to do that? If you can't make a decision, go up to someone else and get some advice. It helps. So they're the main 2 tips I wanted to give you. Setting boundaries and making sure that if things you don't know how to make the decision yourself, or whether you should or should not be doing it, making sure you are going to talk to someone to try and reassure yourself of what the decision should be. If you then still feel the urge to carry out the action which they're pressuring you to do, that could be because, you know, they're your core friend group and you don't want to ditch them all, because then you're not going to have any friends, or you're not going to have that core friend group that you really like. I just spelled tea everywhere. Happy days. So that could be one reason, or there's many other reasons why you still might not want to just leave or remove yourself from that situation, or you still might want to carry out that action that they're trying to peer pressure you into. In that case, it's probably a bit more severe than just peer pressuring. You've kind of got yourself into a situation where you are so trapped up in this environment, you don't know how to escape from it. And I know how that feels. It can feel lonely, it can feel very restrictive, and it can make you feel like you have no friends that you can trust, because every time you go with your friends, they're pressuring you, either on purpose or not on purpose, to do this thing. If you're not able to remove yourself from that situation, try and talk to someone. It's so important, because at the end of the day, if you can't make that decision for yourself to get out of there, maybe a therapist, maybe a counsellor, maybe a mentor needs to try and help you make that decision or reassure you of it. Because peer pressuring can lead you into such negative situations. It can get you arrested, it can make you alcoholic, it can get you into sex that is not healthy or not protected. And there's many other forms of different things that you could be peer pressured into. So if you can't set your own boundaries and you can't say no and walk away, it doesn't mean you're weak. It just means you need a bit of support, and everyone needs a bit of support here and then. So again, try and talk to someone. Try and get out. Go and talk to your best mate. Go and talk to a professional. Because dealing with peer pressure alone, if you're in a situation where you can't remove yourself, is not going to help you. Now, I know that sounds ridiculously scary. You're probably sitting here looking at the camera right now like, what the hell? Like, that's hard. Like, I can't do that. If you feel like you can't talk to someone and you're in this pressurous situation all the time, and there is no end to it, you know, you feel like every time you go out with these people, you want, or feel like you want to go and do this specific thing. One of the things I would try and do myself if I was in that situation is, don't make it obvious why, you know, you're trying to remove yourself from the group. You know, try and slyly do it. Don't make it obvious to the group. You know, don't say to them that you're not friends with them or you're annoyed with them. Just slowly, just less and less text with them. Just talk to them less and less. Meanwhile, try and get to know or talk to other people. Now, if you're an antisocial person, maybe it's time to reconnect with family while you're not talking to them friends. Get to know other people better. Again, there's so many situations that I'm trying to relate to here. It's hard to relate to them all. But my advice, if you feel like you can't talk to anyone right now, you don't have to. But the best thing to do is try and slowly push yourself away. You know, when they text, don't always reply, and just start slowly pushing yourself away from them people. Meanwhile, building up another strong friendship. That could be a family relationship. That could be a friend, another group of friends. Try and build up something else to replace that negative friendship you've always had that's peer pressured you. If it's one person, yeah, just ditch them. Just literally slowly push yourself away from them. Delete their numbers off your phone and slowly start to back off and make other friends. And that's the simplest piece of advice I can give you. And if all of them things are going to become very difficult, again, it is time to seek help. It is time to get that support that you desperately need. And there's nothing wrong with you doing that. Anyway, guys, I thought this video was just going to be a bit more casual. I didn't want to make this anything tense or intimidating. I hope none of you are being peer pressured. It is horrible. It's nasty. It can lead into some horrific bullying, and it can make you feel lonely and like you've got nothing else going for you. Sorry, my door just really creepily opened. That was weird. But yeah, I just thought I'd make a quick video on peer pressure. I hope some of my tips help. I hope some of my tips, you know, reassure you that you're not alone in this. There's hundreds and hundreds of people all over the world who are dealing with peer pressure right now. But some of these tips might help you. So give them a go. Make it your target for today. But apart from that, guys, I hope we're all coping with the madness of the current times. I hope we're all well. I hope we're all keeping healthy. But apart from that, guys, I hope you've enjoyed. If you did, make sure you're smashing that like button. And I will catch you dudes next time.